Hello, hello. Welcome to today's episode. I realized that I haven't recorded podcast as often as my heart's desire is. And there's some things, behind the scenes that I have been going through, like finding out what my North Star is, who I am, and got some new seasons going on also. My youngest will be graduating on June 11th. And so that it's a whole new season for me and my husband because now all of our kids will have been graduated from of course high school, and it's a weird phenomenon. I didn't, how when your kids are small, if you have kids, you we don't really spend time thinking about like the huge future. We think about the now, right? So when they're little, it's harder for us to see the graduations, the next seasons of life, the adulting, right? And then when it happens, it's like, wow, how did I get here? Did I cherish the time? Did I focus on the value? Did I add to my kid's life, or you know, did I take things away? Was I a good parent? Then you fill in the blanks. Did I teach something? Did I teach them things, or did I forget? Now, if you'll excuse me, I see a spider here on my wall. Now, I don't allow spiders to live in my house. Okay? So, I did smash that thing, but while I was talking real life stuff, I have something that I wanted to read to you today. It's a post that I just put on Facebook, and I am at the point in my life where I am done sitting in the season of polished. I am done sitting in the season of showing up, proving myself, adjusting myself to be chosen. I am done putting myself on the of feeling like I am on clearance for people to choose me, to hire me, whether that's for business, whether coaching, consulting, whether that's for a job, a career. I look at my life and I see where I have lost my spark. I have allowed myself to stay in a horrible, creepy composition of music, right? Like we all hear, I am musically inclined. I played the piano when I was little. And so I can hear when keys are off, when tunes are just off, including when people sing. And when people sing and they're off key, it just, of course, it adds to the, oh dear, I don't want to listen to this, right? Or we hear it in like old songs, old records, where they're playing the keys and then it sounds like it's just off. You don't want to listen to it because it just doesn't feel right on the ears. And so for years, like my whole life, growing up in foster care, I had to become versions of myself that I didn't know. I had to act a certain way to be chosen. And so I also realized that lately, being in the coaching industry, there are, you know, this is not like a mentor or coach bash. I believe the coaching industry has caused people to lose their spark, to show up a certain way in order to look polished and look. and to be chosen. It's that there's a certain way that I see a lot of people showing up, and I support, previous mentors and coaches I've had. However, I've sometimes the advice that I have gotten has been, well, do it this way. No, I think you should do it that way. Or when I would tell them how I do things, I would then get tips on how to change what I'm saying. Or they would say to me, no, you need to say it this way so that people can understand. Or you got to say it this way so that it comes across clear. And it's like, but I am saying it clearly. The advice that you gave me just caused me to doubt myself. And now I got to put on another costume to show up and speak in a manner that you understand. But the manner that I was saying it isn't a manner that is easy for me when it rolls off of my tongue. So why am I going to make myself, why am I going to turn myself into something different just to be chosen? Just to burn myself out to perform and to prove, that doesn't align with who I am. And today, you're going to hear a part of my foster care story that I haven't shared before. I think I've shared my foster care story a lot, and it ties in with the very essence of who I am. It ties in with the very person that I have become because it's the foundation. I received some unwarranted feedback from someone recently in my inbox. And what they had offered is some advice I didn't ask for, but they had recommended that how I'm showing up online is not bringing people into the experience. And I thought that was odd, number one. That they would say that, and I'm of course paraphrasing, right? Loose paraphrase, and also that I could take this into Chat GPT and adjust, and it was in quotations the word adjust, and then I realized it hit a spot, and I recognized it, and I said, what is this? And then I thought to myself, I have been adjusting in quotations myself my whole life to be chosen. Now, I don't know the reason someone would come in my inbox and give me unwarranted advice that doesn't suit me, that doesn't fit me, because had that person have realized, do you know how long it has taken for me to show up the way that I am without polishing myself, without editing myself? Do you know the work that it's taken, the hard, excruciating, grueling work it's taken for me to stop burning myself out to perform and to prove to people that I am capable of showing up and speaking in a manner that they tell me I should, to where it's comfortable that I'm showing up in, to be myself? That might work for you, but it does not work for me to polish myself and to change yet again how I'm operating, because my story is my story. It's my experience. And I've already changed who I am since before I was one. I had to learn how to polish myself to be chosen for approval. That's what I had to learn. And you're going to hear why in a moment. So it's a post I did today, and it's really my North Star, and the very essence of who I help. This is why, because we burn ourselves out so much so that we lose ourselves. We lose our light, we lose our fire, we dim ourselves down. We polish ourselves for a resume, for a job, for career. We polish ourselves in churches. We polish ourselves around our friends who probably don't even treat us like a friend. We polish ourselves around our kids, around our in laws, around everyone, and yet inside we're dying. Why? Because we're burning ourselves out. We're putting the masks on for approval. But why is that? When we start finding out what is working for us and our integrity, we will stay in line with that. When we start finding out how we operate and how what lights us up, and we start staying in alignment, we will stay that way. We will no longer be listening to an out of tune song for our lives anymore, and we will stop living a life in burnout, performance improving. I'm going to read this to you, and you know, where in your life are you still proving and performing to be accepted, to be chosen? Something that I have heard and I have come across is that it's not just people in foster care that feel abandoned and out of place. It's also people who have been adopted. And I thought that was really odd because I thought, in my experience, I was almost adopted. Thank God I wasn't, because the people that took us into their home, they didn't abuse the children they adopted. They abused us. They didn't abuse them. It was very strange. But they abused us, me and my sisters, for the first 10 years of my life. We were put into the foster care home, me and my twin sister, by the time we were 1 year old, because our birth parents decided that alcohol would be their choice. So before I was one, I was already in an unsafe, unwanted environment. When people are adults, they know what they're doing. Okay, there's no excuses. I'm not excusing, I'm not bypassing, and I'm not denying the truth anymore, because they knew what they were doing. I don't believe they were completely aware of um, that their behavior would have the consequences that it did. I don't think they were prepared for that. But because of their choices, my birth parents, who decided that even passing out on the couch due to being drunk when I was an infant, proved that they had a different agenda for their lives, different value system. Then, after my twin sister and I were taken away, her and their rights were taken away, we were forced to have a relationship with our birth mom. My birth dad, he took off. I don't know where he went. I guess he moved to Maine. And he would, try to be a dad, in quotations, in my life throughout my life, but he didn't know how. And I don't know how he lived the rest of his life. After, he made another decision when I was a young adult and my kids were really, really small. He decided to do the same thing he did to me when I was born. He abandoned me again. And at that point, I was like, no, 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 you don't get to do this to me again. I'm done. So people just aren't aware of their actions. Does it mean it's okay? No. Does it make it right? No. Have I had to walk through a lot of forgiveness and healing? Yes. So I want to read to you something that I typed up today, and this is the very essence of what I do. This is the very essence of what people pay me for. This is what I speak on. This is the success for me. This is the very thing I've prayed, is to share my story and to be able to speak on stages. Now, while right now my health does not permit me to travel, virtual experiences is where it's at. This is where it starts. And by the way, this is my business card. This is what people listen to know what they're getting when they say yes to them hiring me. And so this is my meaningful mission because what I am about to share with you, it might be a part of my story, but I'm going to share some things that where do you see yourself and where are you still performing and proving just to be accepted? And where are you still burning out in your own life? And this could be in any area: job, career, parenting, friendships, church. I've been in every environment that I have just shared. But for me it started before I was one, and by the time I entered foster care. That's a very young age to learn how to be chosen, right? So let's get started. By the time I was 1 year old, I learned how to polish myself to be chosen for approval. By the time I was 1 year old, I entered the world of foster care, which taught me to be someone I'm not, just to be chosen by people who treated me like an object from a clearance rack. Trash bags and cardboard boxes were what I owned as mine, and going from home to home in foster care with barely anything that I could call mine taught me that I wasn't allowed to have the things that I want or receive anything that was of value. Anything of value that I received, I cherished and I held on to until right after sixth grade graduation. My house burned down from the Painted Cave fire in Santa Barbara, California in 1991. My world came to a crashing halt because I already had spent all of my life collecting things that have value, and yet here I was not being treated as a person who is of value. I never felt enough or worthy, and I had to constantly prove that I was worth something and not just a price tag. I had to prove in a short amount of time that I was worth being chosen for certain foster homes. And then when I wasn't chosen, even if I liked it and they didn't want to take me in, I had to start all over again and sit on the clearance rack. That traveled with me into my adult years, where I would polish myself for a resume and a job and a career that has sucked the life right out of me for the last 3 decades. Not only have I been showing up polished in my own personal life, but I have also been showing up polished in every other area of my life, and it just doesn't feel good. It feels like the wrong outfit is on, and the clothes are too small, and the costume changes have been exhausting, and the masks just don't fit my face anymore. I've tried so hard to mirror what those successful people have been doing and are doing, and I paid the hefty price. I have paid a very high price to be left with holding a cardboard box of items that I could grab before the spark and polishing myself to just prove I'm worth being hired or chosen or paid for my services, and yet I have found I have been blending in. I have been gathering pieces from others of what works for them, and yet slowly abandoning myself where the highest expression of me in my art has been watered down, dimmed down, and left on the clearance rack. I have had to return back to myself at the age of 13 and remind myself, hey, psst, you're not on clearance anymore, and you are worthy of being chosen. You don't have to dim your light or blend in because that has cost you your spark. You, Tiffany, move with grace, beauty, elegance, and you move in a way that suddenly gets people's attention and wakes them up out of the pits of lost hope, and you show them a mirror so they can return back to themselves in a map out of the chaos of confusion and the burnout they've faced from performing and proving in every area of their life. And here you come along in your voice, and your voice has been a treasure map for people. I mean, look at what you've done with your podcast. Hello? With no production team, no editing team, not a team, just me, from scratch. When I believed I did not have a voice that people listened to per se. And yet my spark has been dimmed by people who mean well, but give me unwarranted feedback that I have to show up polished and adjust how I'm showing up. And so here I am putting myself back on the clearance rack just to feel worthy, to be chosen. I am not here to show up polished anymore and lose my integrity just to prove that I'm worth being chosen. That is not my deepest held values or alignment by hiding who I am just to blend in. And the coaching industry? I see a lot of polished stories out there that don't really showcase the weight and gravity and the depth and the rawness of what it actually took for people to get to a different place. But no, people are showing up polished and then telling people how to show up in order to be chosen. That's foster care all over again. When I look at the highest expression of me and the greater good of who I serve, yes, it's God that I serve, and the highest expression that He has put within me is that for the greater good, people's lives mean something. Their spark returns. They remember who they are. They set boundaries, and business owners no longer lead communities or organizations or corporate environments in burnout from performing and proving that they can do the job, but won't even look at the hard truths of, is this really what I want to do, or am I living up to some other person's expectations? So today, I am no longer going to show up polished and muffle myself, and I am no longer going to blend in. Who cares? I'm not here to be polished, I never was, and I'm here to bring people with me, and the version of me that is showing up today is no longer the little girl who is holding a cardboard box, wishing, praying, and proving that she's worthy of being chosen because she already has been chosen. And that is my letter to you today. You, who's listening, are worthy of being chosen. You are worthy of being seen, heard, valued. Maybe you've lost your light and your spark. Maybe you're walking around trying to figure out exactly what I've been trying to figure out is, why the hell am I polishing myself just to prove that I'm capable? And you know, it also doesn't help if we are in any environment that causes us to abandon ourselves either. And so that's where I come in. I put the spark back in people's lives. I put the hope back. I give you a map. You find yourself again. So today I encourage you to go and ask yourself, just do this little project for yourself. And then you can find me everywhere on my socials, or you can even send me an email. Just remind me that it's from this particular podcast, and tell me what what it is that you have been polishing yourself in, and then I will encourage you and I will cheer you on and celebrate you for your courage to show up, because sometimes it takes someone turning a light on for us to even realize, like, oh shit, I have lost myself. I don't even know who I am. And why is that? And why am I showing up a certain way in fill in the blank? And so that concludes this podcast. Thank you so much for choosing yourself today to put you first. And that concludes today's episode.